Hello.
Hi.
So tell me about yourself, your name, pronouns, age if you want, what you do, where you're from, all of that.
Cool. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Zenzele Clarke. I'm 19 years old, gonna be 20 soon. Pronouns wise, I don't have. It's funny that we've never talked about this. I feel like it's a conversation we would have had. But I'm not like attached to any pronouns. Like I'm cool with any, but I recognize that most people will say she, her, and I'm cool with that. And then I'm from Florida, South Florida. Always been here. And I originally was studying fine arts, so more so like painting and drawing was like really my shit. But like with graphite, uh, since then I've done more like ink, and I got into film as my main medium. So now I'm studying film at FAU. This is my final year, and I'm so happy about that. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool, cool. So how did you get into, I guess, like the world of art, and like film, from like drawing, like even music?
Yeah, well, my mom always really stressed uh, like doing some kind of art form, and she herself used to draw and continues to like paint and stuff. But I don't know, she doesn't see herself as an artist when she definitely is, and she's more in this role of like I'm trying to bring out everyone else's artistic capabilities. So me, my brother, my sister, all of us have always had to go to art lessons, and like it was always fun to us. And then regarding movies, I've always been like watching movies all the time. I when I was little, I had just a giant collection of VHSs, and in addition to that, every Friday, me and my dad would go to whatever. Like at that time, it was Hollywood Video was the closest rental store, and we would just choose a bunch of videos and spend a long ass time in there just looking at all the cases, and like it was so amazing to me. And that was like the main thing we did together, just watching movies. And when I want to say like when I was 12 and 13, that's when I started watching a lot of like more serious stuff on my own. And I eventually came to that realization that like, yo, this is actually what I want to do. Because I used to think, oh, maybe I want to be an actor. And then I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And then I was like, no, I want to be able to like create the whole thing. Because there were so many kinds of movies that I wanted to watch. And really, you're not going to see that unless you do it yourself, because no one else is going to see the same thing in your mind. And that's where like the Virgo control freak type of thing like pops out, because I'm just like, yeah, I just want to, I have to like be in control of all the things going on. And like I want it to be exactly how I see it. And it's less intense than I'm saying right now, but
Yeah,
I feel like most artists can relate to that.
yeah. I'm definitely the same way. Mostly because it's it's really hard to like depend on other people, especially like
Yeah.
artistically. Um, so yeah, I definitely feel you in terms of like doing everything, because it's like I feel like we're the only ones that put as much like that much pressure on ourselves to like
Yeah.
do it all.
Yeah, and it's like intense trying to find people who you're like, okay, they're gonna do it the way that I would do it, and like you don't want to hold other people to the same standards that you hold yourself to, which is kind of crazy to say, but it's the truth.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess this kind of goes into my next question. Um, just like I guess what's your experience been in like the South Florida like art scene in terms of like your borscht internship, and like I guess how has your experience been collaborating with people generally, like on your own films or on other people's films?
Yeah, so I guess most of my experience has been just working on my own personal projects. Like I haven't been on too many sets. Like actually working. Sometimes I've been just like observing. But in terms of my internship, it was even though it was like you have access to all of these materials and like resources, do what you got to do. because I lived so far away from the base, like it was in Miami and I'm here in Pompano, still a lot of it I was just like doing it on my own and like kind of cut off from that. But I'd say that I really like the scene here just because there's not too much of an existing infrastructure. And that can be kind of daunting at first, but then you get in this mindset where it's like, okay, I'm working to create something here rather than I'm trying to fight against like in a rough competition of like I have to be better than everyone else because everyone's trying to do this. And I do think that for artistic communities in general in South Florida, then a lot of people start to band together and try to uplift each other because they're all trying to create a platform rather than get onto a scene that's already like really intense. Though, like I think both modes are like there's something to be learned from each of them. And that's like when people ask me, like I always say I want to go to New York and they're like, if you're doing film, why don't you want to go to LA? I'm just like, that's not the scene I'm trying to be on. Like the really intense Hollywood studio type scene. Like that's not the vibe. But yeah, I don't know. I've had a good experience just because I know that I get scared scared off easily. I'm like when I start comparing myself to other people. So having the time to just be like, okay, I only need to be comparing myself to myself because literally there's not that many people trying to do the same exact thing as me here. It like is helping me kind of grow up in that respect.
But can you talk about some of your projects, like film or otherwise?
I'd say I have 2 movies now that I'm like actually proud of, and I'm like watch this, telling people to watch it. But the first one is The Man Who Killed God, which I got to show at your screening, and I'm so happy about that. Like honestly, I need to tell you, that screening really made me feel so much better because that piece I like just hated it after I made it. I did not like it and I was so scared to show it to anyone and I was actually embarrassed and to see people react that way was really amazing.
That's good.
But yeah, no, it was amazing. And that one it's kind of me trying to get at like eventually I want to do a feature of that film, so it's kind of like proof of concept at this point. But just dealing with like ideas of God even is, and like thinking about that astronomical idea, bringing it down to like a corporal, like 2 people interpersonal kind of setting. I just like I don't know, dealing with concepts that are surreal and using them to kind of explore personal relationships and how people relate to each other. And like a lot of, I don't know, I got into reading a bunch of existentialist like essays and stuff, and I'm just like thinking about what is actually absurd and what it means to just to be alive, all that kind of thing. It sounds like so fake deep, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do in that piece. And then my other one is called an independent movie about a young artist. And that one was just like rapid fire. I had the idea, and then over the course of the next 3 to 4 days, I made it. And I was like, there, I'm not touching it anymore because I like had the idea. And I feel like when you start, sometimes you get an idea and you're like, I have to make it right now or else I'm not going to finish it. Like you just have to throw yourself in and like use that momentum because I knew that if I let it sit, I would like all of a sudden stop being like passionate about it and just want to throw it away entirely and no one would ever find out about it. So, yeah, that's kind of how that one went. And I'm really happy that I did that. So both of those projects have just helped me learn how to stop feeling like an imposter.
Yes.
Because imposter syndrome goes real. Crazy. Yeah. Just feeling like, oh, I'm not doing things the right way. But then you realize like there isn't really a right way. And as long as you have a final product, then it's valid, like
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah, that's definitely
So
something
yeah.
I've learned being in quarantine, because I always work on like projects that I started on for a class. I always like work on them after. So I feel like I'm also the same way where like if I have the motivation, I just need to like do it like right now. So I'm glad that you were able to make something and like finish it, because I really love it. I love both of them,
Thank you
obviously.
so much.
And the last one, I'm so glad that you sent that to me when you did, because I was like not thinking of something similar, but just that kind of like, I don't know, there's like a style to it that it's like it's made quickly but like in a good way. It's like I have all these ideas and I'm just gonna like put it down, and there's no need to like fidget with it. Just like put it down. I don't know. It's cool. It's cool. I love
Yeah,
it.
and like with just even how you built up this platform, the kickback platform, I'm just like, it's amazing how quickly you turn all these things around. But it's when you're working on it, it's like, okay, what else am I doing? I'm literally doing nothing else. What am I waiting for?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like, why not do it now?
Because yeah, I had the idea like in June, just because I was inspired by like my friend Tori and like what she's doing with like music, and like all the people
Mm-hmm.
I met like at like who go to NYU. So I was like, I want to do something, but like for my film friends and like other art and just like everything. And I'm such a procrastinator, but I'm so glad that I just like made an Instagram account. I was just like, I'm just gonna make just make it. You don't have to put anything on it. You don't have to do shit. Just make it. Um, so I guess what are your influences artistically, film wise?
Ah,
Which is such a broad question, but if you can
yeah,
think of
no, and I'm
anything.
never prepared for it either. Every time I hear this question, I'm just like, one movie that I really like, and but when I first saw it, I rewatched it a bunch of times, but it was La Ciénaga by Lucrecia Martel. That movie really like got me thinking differently, especially in terms of sound, and like it was the first kind of like slice of life movie that I saw that I was like, okay, this is doing something.
Yeah.
Like this is how it's supposed to be done. Um, I want to shout out Chantal Ackerman as well
Yes.
because yo, like just I remember the first time I read about Jean Diman and I was like, she was 24 when that movie came out.
Oh,
This
really?
3 hour like
Yeah.
masterpiece,
Yeah. It's crazy.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of her other work as well, really, really good. Um, and then I'd say I'm like heavily influenced by things that I read and comics in general. Um, maybe, yeah, like I was saying, a lot of existential kind of things that I read, like Sartre and Camus. And uh, I don't know. I wish I had like thought about this
It's
beforehand.
okay. It's okay.
But oh, I'll reference one other movie that I'd like to bring up. Um, Born in Flames. I saw that,
It's on my list.
and it was really amazing. Just like the way it brings up sexual politics and like women's liberation, it's just a masterpiece. But yeah,
A movie I recommend for you is Tongues Untied. It's on Canopy, um, which you can get through like the Broward Library now. But it's
mm-hmm.
made in. I've written like so many essays about this movie because I love it so much. But it was made in 1989 by this filmmaker Marlon Riggs, and it's like about it uses like poems and dance and like music, spoken word, like reenactments, just to kind of tell a story about like his experience as a black gay man in like the 80s, from like being a
Love
child to
that.
like being adult, like just all these different kinds of thing. And it's like a collage kind of thing. It's like super like poetic and like it's I could go on and on, but it's really cool, so I recommend that. It's called Tongues Untied.
Yeah.
um, and then so my follow-up question to this sort of is like, um, in your classes, like academically, have you is there, I guess, any films that you've taken away, or any like concepts or like text or anything that
Hmm.
you've learned in school
Um,
so far?
I think the two classes that I took that actually I felt like really impacted me. One was more so like a social activism class told through the lens of film. So we went through a bunch of different movements and then looked at like the different kind of movies that were made to push these ideals. And one one essay that we were reading, we read a bunch of like different like socialist anarchist type essays, but one that was specifically cinema related was called Towards a Third Cinema, I'm pretty sure. And um, it was talking about like the difference between first cinema, second cinema, and third cinema. And
Yeah.
basically, first is like the Hollywood system, second,
Yeah.
auteur theory, Jean-Luc Godard, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and then third is like made specifically to promote social change and like it's non-hierarchical um, like work patterns and all these different things. It was really amazing to hear those like differences and to then try to insert yourself into that scheme and like think really reassess what is the goal of my work, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then I took a criticism class, and that one was really interesting because he specifically showed us a lot of films where it was like, it's really debatable whether this is even good. Like, you're like, some of them I feel like he specifically was like, this is bad. Like, watch this. But also then being like, who is anyone to judge like what is good and what is bad, and like what are the good qualities of any work that you see, and what is the purpose again of film? Like, what are we trying to show? So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this kind of goes into my follow up question to my follow up question, which was about how like international cinema has influenced you. Because I know that you watch a lot of like Latin films and like things in like Spanish or otherwise, and even like novellas, like how all these different kind of like styles have influenced you. Like even if it's not in your work directly, or like even if you like write about
Mm-hmm.
films, like essays and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd say like before I was saying that I started watching a lot more like quote unquote serious stuff when I was like 12, and it was just like I was at home all the time doing nothing. Like I couldn't really hang out with my friends, so I'm just watching whatever is on Netflix. And I started watching all these foreign films. It wasn't even like I was trying to. I would just randomly choose a movie, and then I'm like, oh, hey, it's not in English. But it was amazing to me because a lot of them didn't follow the same form as like the movies I was used to, and especially with endings, like they were a lot more likely to end on just like an open like, oh, you got to interpret the ending, or like one that I saw, it had multiple endings, like there were multiple versions, like it ended and then they're like, or what if this happened?
That's so sick.
I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think that one was called How Much Do You Love Me. It was this French movie with Monica Bellucci. But yeah, so watching all of these kinds of films, it just made me it it definitely made me feel like you can write about anything and you can write it any way you want to, and feeling much less like I have to cater to a specific audience, because it's like there's endless audiences, and at the end that's not really the point. It's like getting out whatever it is that you need to get out. And yes, so I guess in my work I kind of struggle between those two mentalities, because like I want to say things that I realize are a bit more cryptic, and I never know when I'm being too cryptic and I need to like give a little bit more context to people, or if that's even important. Like, should I leave it that way and whatever people get from it, they get from it? So I guess that's like a repeating question that has come from like foreign cinephilia.
Mm.
So yeah.
That's really cool because, yeah, I think like one of the great things about like being in school for film, or not even that, just like having people you can show your things to like receive feedback, to know like what you want to like if you want to do what they say, or even if you don't, like taking it in but still like choosing to go in a different direction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so my next question is, how do you feel like you've changed as an artist from childhood? And if you've known, or if you've noticed any changes like recently, like in the past few years, from like let's say like high school to like almost graduating college.
Um, I feel like in childhood a lot more I was a lot more sure of myself, and then there was like a point where it's just like no confidence,
Yeah.
and then coming back to, and also like there's a point in life, I guess, where you kind of decide if you're gonna. I don't know if everyone feels like that, but you kind of decide if you're gonna continue being an artist or if it's gonna like just become a hobby.
Mm.
Like, is this gonna be the center of your life or not? And you can always choose to do that again, but like when you start having to make a lot of decisions about school and about like what you're studying and everything, it feels like sometimes art is it's not feasible or it's not the right decision to make for your future. But yeah, I luckily had a lot of support uh, in my family, and um, I'd say now I'm way more confident that it's something I can do, and that's a change even within the last year for sure, because like a year and a half ago, I hadn't really made anything, like any real video work, and I was just so scared to do it. Like I always let the ideas like be way too grand and stop me from working, because I'm like, oh well, what I want to do, I would need like a huge budget, and I would need all of these people. So oop, I can't do it. But like, you got to put yourself in the position where you have to do it, and just to even see if you can, and if it's something you even like. And yeah, so more recently, I've been working on videos a lot more, and even stuff that it's like no one's gonna see this, or it's like not even really important, just to like keep flexing those muscles so that whenever the time does come that I could possibly have that huge budget, or I could do something big, I'm not in my own way, because I'm like, oh, you've never done this before. Like by trying new things, then that fear of doing something new becomes less and less, I think.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. That's like really good advice too for like anyone trying to start like a new skill or like a new art.
Yeah.
And when I like first decided that I wanted to make films, I was like also really nervous because I was so into like fantasy and science fiction, and I was like thinking about like all these kind of like really out of the box things. When I had to make a portfolio, I was like, I don't really know how to like do that. Like I don't. That's gonna be kind of hard. So I think that's why I took such a like sharp turn to like making things about like myself or about like people my age. Um, I had a question that I forgot. Oh, I guess sort of back to the thing of influences. When you were talking, I just thought of in terms of like the museum space. Like we went to the MoMA twice. Whoa, that's crazy. Um, or even like other museums, other places that you've like been, even in like DC or like Miami or anything like that. Have you like noticed anything? Because I've definitely noticed. I feel like it was kind of shocking to me moving to New York and seeing like the kind of how like film occupies like the museum space compared to like Hollywood and like movie theaters. So I guess like what's your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, that trip, especially when we went the first time and saw the Adrian Piper exhibit, which I know both of us, we were just like, because, okay, she, actually, let me talk about her, because talk about influences, like, just the way, going through that, because I had never heard of her before, but going through that exhibit, I was like, this woman's entire life was her artwork. Like, seeing the earliest the earliest stuff she was doing, like one where she was just taking a picture in the mirror every single day and started dissociating out of her body. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, girl, I'm with you. I'm right here. And then when she was collecting her hair and nails in jars, and you can see them go from like super black to super white. And it's just amazing how she like gave her entire being to the art and to the activism, and how like all of these things just coalesce into life. It's just crazy. And
she deserved that.
And then also, and like with that, they had a bunch of TV sets. I love when they do that in museums, just having like a TV set on a podium, and the ones with like the box in the back and everything. I was like, this is so cool. There was one where she was like teaching people how to dance. I went to one exhibit at the Perez where it was just a TV set, and the video was of ocean waves, and it was just going back and forth, and it was so beautiful. Like, I stood there for a long ass time just being like entranced by the ocean waves. And then on the wall next to it was this huge painting of the ocean, and when you get really close, you realize that the waves were made out of fish hooks. Someone had.
Is that at the Perez or is that at the MoMA?
It was at the. They might have like done some exchange, but when I saw it like 2 years ago at the.
I think I was there with you. I think that's when we went to one.
Oh yeah. It was still there. There. I think it was like a Yoam Capote piece. But it was so amazing. But and in the Perez too, they have all those theaters that you can go in and watch video work. They always have videos playing, and I love that how they really adopt cinema into the museum experience. It's really nice.
I don't know if it. I know when we went to the MoMA the second time when you came to New York, and I think it was like just you and me when we went to like that Arthur Jaffa film thing with the kind of like flashing images and then like the dance music. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm trying to remember.
And then,
was it in Fat Village?
No, it was in the MoMA. When they like after they renovated.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot, just in terms of like sound and like just flashing images, and like how like all the things that can do. And in January I went to the MoMA again with Patrick, and there were like a lot of like video kind of things, and I feel like video in museums, it's often so like trippy to me, just like being in like a dark room and seeing all of this like flashing like stuff with like projectors. I don't know, there's a lot of like works that I'm thinking of, but it's, I don't know, I think it's like such an interesting and like very different from the like, I don't know, average things, because I don't know what it's like at FAU if they teach anything like experimental or like installation kind of stuff, but I feel like that should be taught more, or that should be like more public for sure.
I'm like, I really should know more about the curriculum at my school, but I'm just like in and out. So I'm not really sure. They have a few galleries, and they've actually had some really cool exhibits there before. Like, they had one, it was dealing with like this, I want to say Venezuelan culture, like where you see a bunch of colonial houses that look completely out of place. And it's because of like the colonial history. It's so wild. And like photos of that, and then installations. They had one that was like kind of like a children's spaceship. Like, it had a bunch of colorful things inside of the space capsule, and it was really, really amazing.
The last question that I have written down is, do you have any hopes or plans for the future, like for projects or anything?
Well, right now, me and one of my friends are actually working on a film podcast. We did one episode so far, but like we're trying to make a platform, kind of like a digital magazine, still figuring out the logistics.
Yeah.
But we did one episode of a podcast. It's called the Manic Pixie Dreamcast, and we basically are just like talking shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, talking shit about like different movies that we like and tropes. But yeah. So I'm hoping. I've always wanted to do like something magazine related. So we're using this opportunity to just like talk about things that we actually care about, and then like do some written articles as well related to each one. So I'm excited for how that goes. Otherwise, like actually making film, I'm really just trying to like I've been working on a few small things, but probably gonna just try to like write a full screenplay, see if I could actually do that, you know. And I'm really trying to move sooner rather than later, trying to move to New York, as we all are, you know.
Right. I am trying to do the same thing too.
Yeah, but things are like lining up for me really well right now, so I'm feeling like I can, and I'm just excited to like go out there and see what kind of stuff I can start making once I'm in that kind of environment. That's really exciting to me.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm excited. Yeah, definitely. If the podcast is up anywhere, if it'll be up, send me the link because I will definitely listen.
I got you.
Cool. It was nice talking to you. Obviously, do you have anything you want to add or anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it. Just like, you know, everyone express yourself and, you know, don't be afraid to do that, I guess. Like some words for the kids. Yeah.
Cool.